Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the Equating Coefficients practice questions. If you need any extra help on equating coefficients, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents and you scroll down to video number 367, there's a video tutorial there on equating coefficients. Alternatively, you could scan this QR code. But in this video, we're going to focus on the video solutions to the practice questions, so let's get started. So question number one. Question number one says we've got 5 bracket 3x plus c close brackets is equivalent to 15x plus 40. So we're trying to find the value for c here. The question says work out the value for c. So let's start off by expanding our brackets. If we expand our brackets on the left hand side, we get 5 times 3x. That's going to be equal to 15x. And then we've got 5 times c. Well, that's going to be plus 5c. And that's equivalent to 15x plus 40. Now if we have a look at this, we've got 15x on the left hand side and 15x on the right hand side. That's fantastic. So in terms of our x's, the coefficients are equated. They're the same as each other on the left hand side and the right hand side. Now in terms of our constants are our numbers. We've got 5c on the left hand side and 40 on the right hand side. So let's equate those. So let's write down our constants. We're going to look at our constants. We've got 5c on the left hand side and we've got that's equal to 40. So we'll write down 5c equals 40 and then we'll solve this. So if we divide both sides by 5, so divide by 5 and divide by 5, 5c divided by 5 is just c and 40 divided by 5 is 8. So that means that c is equal to 8. So the value for c is 8. And let's just look at this. If we had 5 bracket 3x plus 8 and we expanded our brackets, we would get 15x plus 40. So that's the value for c, which would make this work. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 2. So we've got 2 bracket x plus 7, close brackets, plus cx plus d is equivalent to 5x plus 1. So let's start off by expanding our bracket on our left hand side. If we'd done that, we would get 2x and then 2 times 7 would be plus 14 and then we've got plus cx and plus d. So that's the left hand side and that's equivalent to 5x plus 1. Now we want to find the value for c and d. So let's equate our coefficients. So let's start off by equating our coefficients of x. So let's start off by equating our coefficients of x. So on our left hand side, the coefficients, the numbers in front of x on the left hand side, we've got 2 and then we've got plus c. So we've got 2 plus c, they're the numbers in front of our x's on the left hand side, and that would be equal to 5, the coefficient of x on the right hand side. So we've got 2 plus c is equal to 5. If we take away 2 and take away 2, we'll get that c is equal to 3. So that means c is equal to 3, and that makes sense. If we had 2x plus 3x, that's equal to 5x, so that must be a 3. So we've equated our coefficients of x. Now let's look at our constants. So our numbers, so our constants. So our constants on the left hand side, we've got our 14 plus d, so 14 plus d. And then our right hand side, we've got that's equivalent to 1, so it's going to be equal to 1. So let's find the value for d, which would make this work. So we want the d on its own, so let's take away 14 and take away 14. On our left hand side, we'll be left with d. On our right hand side, we had 1. We're taking away 14, so it's going to be minus 13. So that means if d was minus 13, then we'd have 14, take away 13, that's equal to 1. So that's fantastic. So the value for c is equal to 3, and the value for d is equal to negative 13. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 3. So question number 3, we've got a bracket 2x plus 7, close brackets, is equivalent to 8x plus 14b. And we've been asked to work out the values of a and b. So let's expand our brackets on the left hand side. So a times 2x would be 2ax, and then we've got plus, and then we've got a times 7, so it's going to be 7a. So that's the left hand side, and that's going to be equivalent to 8x plus 14b. So we've got our identity. Now let's equate our coefficients. So let's start off, let's find a, let's equate our coefficients of x. So let's equate our coefficients of x. So on our left hand side in front of the x's, we've got the coefficient of x on the left hand side is 2a. And on the right hand side, the terms of x, this is the term of x in it, the coefficient of x is 8, so it's going to be equal to 8. So 2a is equal to 8. So if we divide by 2 and divide by 2, we get that a is equal to 4. So it means that a is equal to 4. Fantastic. So this must be 4. And if we just check it, 4 times 2x is 8x, and that's equal to 8x. Fantastic. So we've done our x's. Now let's do our constants. So our constants. So let's equate our constants. So let's look at our left hand side. Our constants on the left hand side are 7a, because remember a is equal to 4, so that's just going to be 28. And on the right hand side, our constants, well, we've got our 14b, so it's going to be equal to 14b. So we've got the 7a is equal to 14b. We know a is equal to 4, so 7 times a would be 28. So we get 28 is equal to 14b. We want to find out what b is, so let's divide by 14 and divide by 14. So let's start off with the right hand side. We had 14b and we're dividing by 14 to get rid of the times by 14, so we're just left with b. And on the left hand side we had 28 divided by 14, that's 2. So that means that b is equal to 2. So a is equal to 4 and b is equal to 2. And if we go back up and check that, if we had a is equal to 4 and b is equal to 2, let's see if that works. So 4 times 2x is 8x, and that's equal to 8x on the right hand side. Fantastic. 4 times 7 is equal to 28, and 14 times 2 is equal to 28, so that works as well. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 4. So question number 4 says, work out the values of c and d in the identity. So we've got this identity, c minus 2, close brackets, x squared, plus 3d is equivalent to 7x squared plus 9. So let's expand our brackets here. So if we expanded our brackets, we would get cx squared, doing c times x squared, and then we've got minus 2 times x squared, so minus 2x squared, plus 3d is equivalent to 7x squared plus 9. So let's equate our coefficients. Let's start off with our x squared, so our x squareds, and let's look at our numbers in front of our x squareds. So we've got c, and then we've got minus 2, so c minus 2. Actually, we could have just done that to begin with. We didn't need to expand our brackets there. And then on our right-hand side, the numbers in front of our x squared, the coefficients of x squareds are 7. So we've got c minus 2 is equal to 7. So if we add 2 and add 2, we get that c is equal to 9. So that means that c is equal to 9. And that makes sense. If we had 9 take away 2, that's 7, and 7 times x squared is 7x squared. So we've got 7x squared on the left-hand side of the identity and 7x squared on the right-hand side of the identity. So we've done our x squared terms. Now let's look at our constants. So our constants on the left hand side would be 3d, so we've got 3d, and then our constants on the right hand side would be 9, so 3d equals 9, and divide by 3 and divide by 3, and we get that d is equal to 3. So that means that c is equal to 9 and d is equal to 3, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 5. So question number 5 says, work out the values of a and b in this identity, and we've got 9 bracket 2x plus 5, close brackets, plus 2, open brackets, 3x plus b, close brackets, is equivalent to ax plus 23. So let's expand our brackets. 9 times 2x, that's 18x, and 9 times 5, that's plus 45. And then we've got plus, and then 2 times 3x would be 6x, and 2 times b would be plus 2b. And that's equivalent to ax plus 23. So let's equate our coefficients of x. So in terms of our coefficients of x, on the left-hand side, we've got 24 here. So it's going to be 24, and there's no other terms of x's there. And on our right-hand side, we've got an a in front of our x. So that means the coefficients of x on the right-hand side is a. So that means that a is equal to 24. Okay, so we've dealt with our coefficients of x. Now let's look at our constants. Our constants on the left-hand side would be, so let's write constants. And on the left-hand side, we've got 45 plus 2b. So 45 plus 2b there are constants on the left-hand side. And on our right-hand side, that's equal to 23. So we've got that 45 plus 2b is equal to 23. We want to get what b is, so let's take away 45 and take away 45. So we're going to get that 2b, that's what we'll be left with on the left-hand side, is equal to, and 23 take away 45 would be minus 22. And then we'll divide by 2 and divide by 2, and we'll get that b is equal to negative 11. So it means that a is equal to 24 and b is equal to negative 11. Okay, let's look at our next question. Question number 6. It says, work out the values of a and b in this identity, and we've got 4 bracket 2x plus b, close brackets, plus a bracket x plus 3, close brackets, is equivalent to 10x plus 2. So let's expand our brackets. 4 times 2x is 8x, and 4 times b would be plus 4b. And then we've got plus a times x is ax, and then we've got a times 3 would be plus 3a, and that's equivalent to 10x plus 2. Okay, so let's equate our coefficients. So let's start off with x terms. So in terms of our left-hand side, our terms involving x would be this term, and our terms including x on the right-hand side would be this term. So let's equate our coefficients. So we've got 8 plus a is equal to 10, so 8 plus a is equal to 10. So that means that a would be equal to, taking away 8 from both sides, 2. So that means that a is equal to 2. Fantastic. Now, in terms of our constants, let's write that down, constants. In terms of the left-hand side, we had 4b, that's one of our constants, and 3a, and our constants on the right-hand side was 2. So let's write that down. We've got 4b plus 3a is equal to 2. Now we know that a is equal to 2, so 3 times a is 6, so we get 4b plus 6 is equal to 2. Take away 6 and take away 6, so we're going to get that 4b is equal to negative 4, and divide by 4 and divide by 4, we get b is equal to negative 1. So that means that a is equal to 2 and b is equal to negative 1, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 7. So question number 7, we've been asked to work out the values of a and b in this identity. So let's expand our brackets. We're going to get 12x plus 8, multiplying both of these terms by 4. And then expanding these brackets plus a times x, that's ax, and then plus ab. And that's equivalent to 15x minus 16. So let's look at this. Can we simplify anything? No. So let's equate our coefficients. So let's start off with our x's. The terms involving x, that's going to be 12x and ax on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, we've got 15x. So equating our coefficients, we're going to have 12 plus a is equal to 15. So that means that a is equal to 3. If we take away 12 and take away 12, we get that a is equal to 3. So we've got a is equal to 3. Now we've done our x's. Now let's do our constants. So our constants. So our constants on the left-hand side, we've got 8 and AB, so that's 8 plus AB. And on our right-hand side, we've got negative 16, so it equals negative 16. So we know that A is equal to 3, so we get 8 plus 3B is equal to negative 16. And if we take away 8 from both sides, take away 8 and take away 8, we get 3b is equal to negative 24. And if we divide by 3 and divide by 3, b is going to be equal to, well, 24 divided by 3 is 8, so minus 24 divided by 3 would be minus 8. So b would be minus 8, or negative 8. And that's it. So a is equal to 3 and b is equal to negative 8. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 8. So question number 8, we've been given 2ax plus 9 minus 3 brackets x plus b close brackets is equivalent to 5x minus 30. And we've been asked to work out the values of a and b. So again, let's expand our brackets. So we've got 2ax plus 9. Then we've got minus 3 times x, that's going to be minus 3x. And then we've got minus 3 times b, so that's minus 3b, is equivalent to 5x minus 30. Now, let's see if we can simplify anything here. Nope. Okay, so let's equate our coefficients. So let's start off with our x's. So our coefficients of x. So our terms of x on the left-hand side, we've got 2ax and we've got minus 3x. And on the right-hand side, we've got 5x. So equating the coefficients, we've got 2a minus 3 is equal to 5. Now if we solve this, let's add 3 to both sides. So we get 2a is equal to 8, and then divide by 2 and divide by 2, and we get a is equal to 4. So a is equal to 4. Now let's have a look at our constants. So our constants on the left hand side, 9 and minus 3b, so 9 minus 3b. And on the right hand side, that's going to be equal to minus 30. So we want to solve this equation, so we want to get the b on its own. So let's take away 9 from both sides of the equation. So we're going to get on the left hand side minus 3b, and on the right hand side minus 30, take away 9, go down another 9 would be minus 39. At this point, we could just multiply both sides of this equation by negative 1, and that would give us 3b equals 39. And actually, I'm just going to do that, just multiplying both sides of this equation by negative 1, just changing the signs. And then divide by 3 and divide by 3, and we get the b is equal to 13. So b is equal to 13. Now, at this point here, you could divide by negative 3 and divide by negative 3, and you'd get b equals 13 as well, and that'll be right as well. Okay, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 9. So question number 9, we've been given x plus 4 in brackets, then brackets x minus 6, close brackets, plus ax plus b is equivalent to x squared plus 8x minus 25. So let's expand our brackets. X times x is x squared. X times minus 6 would be minus 6x. 4 times x is plus 4x, and then 4 times minus 6 would be minus 24. So that's just expanding our brackets, and then we've still got our plus ax plus b, and that's equivalent to x squared plus 8x minus 25. Now we should be able to simplify some stuff here on the left hand side. We've got minus 6x plus 4x, that's going to be minus 2x, so we'd have x squared minus 2x minus 24, and then plus ax plus b is equivalent to x squared plus 8x minus 25. So we've expanded our left-hand side and simplified it. Now let's equate our coefficients. Now I'm not going to bother with x squareds because we've got x squared on the left-hand side and x squared on the right-hand side, and the coefficients are 1 and 1 and 1 equals 1. Fantastic. It doesn't help us find a or b. So let's start off with our x's. So let's equate our coefficients of x. So x, our coefficients of x. Our terms involving x on the left-hand side, we've got our minus 2x and our ax. And on the right-hand side, we've got 8x. So let's equate our coefficients. So we've got minus 2 plus a is equal to 8. And then if we add 2 to both sides, so add 2 and add 2, we get that a is equal to 10. So a is equal to 10. Fantastic. Now we've done our x's and we've got a is equal to 10. Now let's look at our constants. So our constants. So our constants on the left hand side, we've got minus 24 plus b, and on the right hand side we've got minus 25. So we've got minus 24, and then we've got plus b is equal to minus 25. So we want to find out what b is, so we want the b on its own, so let's add 24 to both sides. So add 24 and add 24. On the left hand side we'll be left with b. On the right hand side we had minus 25, we're adding 24, that brings us to minus 1. So b is equal to negative 1 or minus 1, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 10. So question number 10, we've got an identity, and we've got 2x minus 5, and then in brackets 2x minus 7, close brackets, plus ax squared plus b, and that's equivalent to 3x squared minus 24x plus 12. And the question says to work out the values of a and b. So we want to work out the values of a and b. So let's expand our brackets. So expanding our brackets, 2x times 2x would be 4x squared. And then we've got 2x times negative 7. Well, that's going to be minus 14x, because 2 times 7 is 14, x, and a positive times a negative is a negative, so it's going to be negative 14x. Then we've got minus 5 times 2x, that's going to be minus 10x. And then finally, we've got minus 5 times minus 7. Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and 5 times 7 is 35, so it's going to be plus 35. And then we've got plus ax squared plus b. So that's the left hand side of the identity, and that's equivalent to 3x squared minus 24x plus 12. So now let's simplify the left hand side of this identity. So we've got our 4x squared, and then we've got minus 14x minus 10x, that's going to be minus 24x, and then we've got plus 35, and then we've got our plus ax squared and our plus b, and that's equivalent to 3x squared minus 24x plus 12. So that's our identity, and we've been asked to work out the values of a and b. So let's start off by equating our coefficients, and let's start off with the coefficients of x squared. So let's just change colour of ink. I'm going to change the red, and let's equate our coefficients of x squared. So let's have a look at our x squared terms. We've got 4x squared plus ax squared on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we've got 3x squared. So if we equate the coefficients, we've got 4 plus a is equal to 3. So if we have a look at this, let's solve this for a. So that's minus 4 and minus 4. So we'll be left with a equals, and 3 minus 4 is minus 1. So that means that a is equal to negative 1. So a is equal to negative 1. Now if we have a look at our left hand side and our right hand side again, our identity, and let's change colour of ink again. So we've equated our coefficients of x squared. Now let's have a look at our x's. Well, we've got minus 24x on the left hand side, and we've got minus 24x on the right hand side. So if we equated those coefficients, we just get minus 24 equals minus 24. That's not going to help us find b. So let's look at our constants. So in terms of our constants, on the left hand side we've got 35 plus b, and on the right hand side we've got 12. So let's equate those. 35 plus b is equal to 12. Now we want to find out what b is, so let's get rid of this 35, so that's minus 35 minus 35. And on our left hand side we'll just be left with b, and on our right hand side we'd have 12 minus 35, that's going to be minus 23. So it means that b is equal to negative 23, so negative 23. So we've got that a is equal to negative 1, and b is equal to negative 23, and that's it. So the values of a and b are negative 1 and negative 23. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 11. So question number 11, we've been given this identity, x minus 2, close bracket squared, plus x plus a bracket x plus b, close brackets, is equivalent to x squared plus 1. So let's work out the values of a and b like we've been asked to. So let's expand our left hand side. So we've got x minus 2 squared, so it's going to be x minus 2, and then in brackets x minus 2. And then we've got plus x, and then we've got plus a bracket x plus b, and then we've got that's equivalent to x squared plus 1. Now if we expand our brackets here, we've got x minus 2 times itself, so x times x is x squared. X times minus 2 would be minus 2x. Minus 2 times x is minus 2x, and minus 2 times minus 2 is 4 plus 4. And then we've got our plus x, and then we've got a times x, that's going to be plus ax, and then finally a times b will be plus ab. So that's the left hand side when we expand everything, and that's equivalent to x squared plus 1. And now let's simplify if possible. So let's have a look at this. We've got our x squared term, and then we've got minus 2x plus x. Well, minus 2x would be minus 4x, plus x would be minus 3x, that's minus 3x, and we've still got our plus ax. We don't know what a is, so we've still got our plus ax. And then let's have a look at our constants. We've got plus 4, and then we've got plus ab. So that's what we've got on the left hand side, and that's equivalent to x squared plus 1. So we've expanded and simplified our left hand side, and we've got that's equivalent to x squared plus 1, and we've been asked to find the values of a and b. So let's equate our coefficients. If we have a look at our terms, we've got x squared on the left hand side and x squared on the right hand side. There's no point equating the coefficients of the x squared terms because we get 1's equal to 1. So let's equate our coefficients of x. So if we have a look on our left hand side, the terms involving x are minus 3x and plus ax. So they're the terms involving x on the left hand side. And in terms of the right hand side, we had x squared plus 1. There's no x terms there, so we could actually write this as x squared plus 0x plus 1 if we wanted to. Just putting that in as a bit of a placeholder to help us sort of see. So that means that on the right hand side we would have our term involving x would be 0x. So if we equate the coefficients, we've got minus 3 plus a is equal to, and on this right side we've got the coefficient of x is 0. So if we add 3 to both sides, add 3 and add 3, we get that a is equal to 3. So a is equal to 3. Fantastic. So now we've got a is equal to 3, we want to find out what b is. So we've equated the coefficients of x. There's no point equating the coefficients of x squared. So now let's have a look at our constants. So in terms of our constants, if we have a look at our constants, on the left hand side our constants are, well, we've got 4 and plus ab, and on the right hand side we've got plus 1. So we've got 4 and then plus ab is equal to 1. Now we know a is equal to 3, so that's 4 plus 3b, just replacing the a with 3, is equal to 1. And then if we solve this equation, we can take away 4 and take away 4. So we get then 3b is equal to, and 1 minus 4 would be minus 3. And then we want to find out what b is, so we're going to divide by 3 and divide by 3, and that gives us that b is equal to, minus 3 divided by 3 would be minus 1. So it means that b is equal to minus 1. So a is equal to 3 and b is equal to minus 1, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 12. So question number 12, we've got x plus b, close bracket squared, is equivalent to x squared plus cx plus 49. And we've been asked to find the two possible values for c. So let's expand our left hand side here. We've got x plus b squared. That means x plus b times itself. So that's x plus b, and then in brackets x plus b. And then we've still got on our right hand side x squared plus cx plus 49. And then let's expand these brackets. So x times x is x squared, x times b would be plus bx, b times x is plus bx, and then b times b is plus b squared. And that's our left hand side, and that's equivalent to x squared plus cx plus 49. So we've expanded our brackets. Now let's simplify these terms. We've got bx plus bx, that's going to be 2bx. So we've got x squared plus 2bx plus b squared is equivalent to x squared plus cx plus 49. So that's fantastic. So we want to find the two possible values for c. So if we have a look at this, well, there's no point equating the coefficients of x squared because that would be 1 is equal to 1. So let's have a look at our x terms and our constants and see what we get when we equate those coefficients. So let's start off with our x terms. So our x terms, we've got our x terms on the left hand side, we've got 2bx, and on the right hand side we've got cx. So that means that 2b is equal to c. So we've got that. Now we can't actually do anything more with that. So now let's have a look at our constants. On the left hand side we've got b squared, and on the right hand side we've got 49. So we've got b squared is equal to 49. So that means that a number squared gives us 49. So that means that b could be equal to 7, or b could be equal to negative 7, because obviously 7 squared is 49, or negative 7 squared is 49. So there's two possible values for b. Now the question says find the two possible values for c. So if we go back over here and we substitute in 7 and negative 7 into this equation, 2b is equal to c, we can then find our two possible values for c, because c is equal to 2b. So if b is equal to 7, we get that's equal to 14. 2 times 7 is 14, so we get 14 is equal to c. So it means that c could be equal to 14. Or if b is equal to negative 7, then we'd have 2 times the negative 7, which is negative 14. So negative 14 is equal to c. So we've got two possible values for c. c is equal to negative 14, or c is equal to 14. So there are two possible solutions, or two possible values for c. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Question number 13. So question number 13, we've got x plus 2c, and then in brackets x plus c, is equivalent to x squared plus dx plus 50. And we've been asked to find the two possible values of d. So let's expand our brackets on the left hand side. So we've got x times x, that's x squared. Then x times c, that's going to be plus cx. 2c times x, that's going to be plus 2cx. And finally 2c times c, that's going to be plus 2c squared. And that's equivalent to x squared plus dx plus 50. And now let's simplify this left hand side. We've got x squared, then we've got cx plus 2cx. That's going to be 3 lots of cx, so plus 3cx plus 2c squared is equivalent to x squared plus dx plus 50. Now the question says to find the two possible values for d. So let's equate our coefficients. And I'm not going to equate the coefficients of x squared because we get 1 is equal to 1. So let's have a look at our other terms. So let's start off with x's. And our terms involving x on the left hand side would be our plus 3cx. And then on our right hand side we've got dx. So if we equate their coefficients, the things in front of the x's, we're going to get that 3c is equal to d. So that might be useful. That might help us find d. Now if we have a look at our constants, on the left hand side our constants are 2c squared, so 2c squared, and on the right hand side that's equal to 50. So we've got the 2c squared is equal to 50. So let's solve this equation. So let's divide by 2 and divide by 2, so we get c squared is equal to 25, and that's great. A number squared is equal to 25, so that means that c is equal to 5 or c is equal to -5. So we've got our two possible values for c. Now if we go back up here, we've been asked to find the two possible values for d, so let's substitute these into this equation to find out what d would be. So we know that d is equal to 3c. Now if c is equal to 5, we get that d is equal to 3 times 5, so that would be 15, so that's one possible solution. Or if c is equal to -5, we get d is equal to 3 times -5, which would be -15. So that means that d is equal to 15 or -15, and that's it. So there are two possible solutions or two possible values of d. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 14. And we've got 4x cubed plus, and then in brackets, x plus a and x plus b, close brackets, plus cx is equivalent to ax cubed minus 3x cubed plus x squared minus x minus 42. And we've been asked to find the values of a, b, and c. Okay, so let's start off by expanding our brackets on our left hand side. So we'd have 4x cubed, and then plus, and then expanding these brackets, x times x is x squared, and then x times b would be plus bx, a times x would be plus ax, and then a times b would be plus ab. And then we've still got our plus cx on the end. And that's equivalent to ax cubed minus 3x cubed plus x squared minus x minus 42. So that's what we've got on the left hand side and the right hand side of the identity. Now let's do some simplifying if we can. Looking at the left hand side, we've got x cubed, no other terms involving x cubed, x squared, no other terms involving x squared, bx plus ax plus cx, no, we can't simplify those, and then we've got ab, so we can't simplify anything on the left hand side or right hand side. Okay, so let's equate our coefficients. So now let's start off by equating our coefficients of x cubed. That would be quite useful. So our x cubed terms, on the left hand side we've got 4x cubed, and on the right hand side we've got ax cubed minus 3x cubed. So that means if we equate their coefficients, we've got 4 is equal to a minus 3. So that means that if we add 3 to both sides, add 3 and add 3, we get that a is equal to 7. So that means that a is equal to 7. Now, in terms of our x squared terms, we've only got an x squared on the left hand side and an x squared on the right hand side. So if we equated their coefficients, we just get 1 is equal to 1, so that's not going to help us. So now let's have a look at our terms involving x. So on our left hand side, we've got bx plus ax plus cx, so that's going to be b plus a plus c is equal to, and on the right hand side we've got minus x, so that's minus 1x, so that's equal to minus 1, equating their coefficients. So we've got b plus a plus c is equal to minus 1. Now remember a is equal to 7, so that means that we've got b plus 7 plus c is equal to minus 1, and taking away 7 from both sides, we're going to get the b plus c is equal to minus 8. So that might be useful. So we've looked at our x cubed terms, we've looked at our x terms. Now let's look at our constants. So in terms of our constants, on the left hand side, our constants, we've got ab, so ab, and in terms of the right hand side, we've got that's equal to minus 42, so minus 42. Now we know that a is equal to 7, so we've got ab, that's going to be 7b is equal to minus 42. So if we divide by 7 and divide by 7, we're going to get the b is equal to, now 42 divided by 7 is 6, so minus 42 divided by 7 would be minus 6. So b is equal to minus 6. So let's write that down, b is equal to minus 6. And then if we go back to this one where we had b plus c is equal to minus 8, if b is equal to minus 6, we're going to get minus 6 plus c is equal to minus 8. So if we add 6 and add 6, we're going to get that c is equal to, and then minus 8 plus 6 is minus 2. So c is equal to minus 2. So we've got the values of a, b, and c. a is equal to 7, b is equal to minus 6, and c is equal to minus 2. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 15. So question number 15 says ax plus 1, x plus 5, x plus b, all in brackets, is equivalent to 2x cubed plus 23x squared plus 71x plus 30. And we've been asked to find the values of a and b. Now in this question we could do this in two different ways. One approach is to expand these brackets. So we can multiply the first two brackets and see what we get, and then multiply that by the third bracket, and then we could simplify if possible, and then put it equivalent to this, and then equate the coefficients. So that's one way we can do it. Or we could take a little bit of a shortcut in this question. And the reason that we can take a little bit of a shortcut, if we look at it, we've got ax, x, and x. Now whenever we expand these brackets, whenever we expand them, the only term that would give us an x cubed would be what we get when we multiply the first term here, by the next term here, and by the next term there. So in other words, ax times x would have to be equal to 2x cubed. So by just looking at that, I know straight away that a is going to have to be equal to 2. So a is equal to 2 because ax times x would be equal to 2x cubed. So a has to be equal to 2. So that's how I've worked out a. And then if we wanted to work out b, because b is one of the numbers here, and we've got 1, 5, and b, if we multiply the constants, whenever we multiply out these brackets, the only way we can get 30 is by multiplying the constant by the constant by the constants. In other words, 1 times 5 times b would be equal to 30. So 1 times 5 is equal to 5, times b would be 5b, and that would be equal to 30. And that means if we divide by 5 and divide by 5, divide by 5 and divide by 5, we're going to get that b is equal to 6. So it means that a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 6. So in this question, I've done it in quite a quick and easy way by just looking at it and just saying, well, if we're expanding these brackets, the only term that would give us the x cubed term would be multiplying the first thing in each of the three brackets. So ax times x times x, and that would be 2x cubed. So a has to be equal to 2. And then in terms of the constant on the end, the 30, the only thing that would multiply together to give us that would be 1 times 5 times b. And 1 times 5 is 5, times b is 5b, and that would be equal to 30. So b has to be 6. 1 times 5 times 6 is 30. So that's how we know that a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 6. So let's write that down. A is equal to 2 and b is equal to 6. Now in terms of this question, if you were to expand the brackets, I'm just going to show you. So that's enough. So we could have used that approach. But if I expanded our brackets, let's see what we would get. Let's see why a would be equal to 2 and b is equal to 6, and just show that that would be work as well. So we expand our first pair of brackets. Ax times x is ax squared. Ax times 5 would be plus 5ax. 1 times x is plus x, and 1 times 5 is 5. So that's what we get when we expand our first pair of brackets. And then we've still got then the x plus b, so x plus b. So that's what we get when we expand our first pair of brackets, and then we've got the second bracket. Now we need to expand this again. So if we expand this again, so multiplying these terms by each of these terms, we would get ax squared times x would be ax cubed. Ax squared times b would be plus abx squared. 5ax times x would be plus 5ax squared. 5ax times b would be 5abx. X times x is plus x squared. X times b would be plus bx. And then finally we've got 5 times x, that's plus 5x. And then 5 times b would be plus 5b. So that's what we get when we expand our brackets. And it looks quite complicated. And we've got that's equivalent to, and I'm going to try and squeeze this in, 2x cubed plus 23x squared plus 71x plus 30. So that's what we've got. Now in terms of finding out our values of a and b, if you have a look here, a is in front of the x cubed term, so the only term involving x cubed on this left hand side is ax cubed, and the only term involving x cubed on the right hand side is 2x cubed. So if we equate the coefficients, we get a is equal to 2. So a is equal to 2, and that's how the value of a is equal to 2. Now in terms of our b, if we have a look at this, we've got a couple of terms involved in b, but if we have a look at the last term here, the constants, we've got 5b, and then on the right hand side we've got that's equal to 30. So that means that 5b is equal to 30, so 5b is equal to 30, and divide by 5 and divide by 5, and we get b is equal to 6. So to show you that we could expand those brackets and work it out that way, alternatively we could just look at it and say, well, this times this times this gives us 2x cubed, so that means that has to be 2, and looking at the number on the end, 1 times 5 times b would have to be 30, so b is equal to 6, and that's it. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 16. Okay, question number 16 says, given that x plus a close brackets squared brackets x minus 2 is equivalent to x cubed plus bx squared minus 3x minus 18, and we've been asked to work out the values of a and b. Now, unlike the last one where there was some obvious shortcuts for me or some obvious ways to approach the question, in this question I'm thinking I'm going to just expand this left-hand side. So expanding these would be, we're going to square the bracket, which means we're going to multiply by itself. So x plus a bracket x plus a, and then we've got our x minus 2. And let's expand this and see what we get. So let's multiply the first two brackets together to begin with. So x times x is x squared. X times a would be plus ax. A times x is plus ax, and a times a is plus a squared. So that's what we get when we multiply out the first two brackets, and then in brackets, and then we've still got our x minus 2. Now I'm just going to simplify this actually, so I'm going to write x squared, and we've got ax plus ax, that's going to be plus 2ax, and then we've still got our plus a squared, and then we've got our x minus 2. Now let's multiply out these brackets and see what we get. So x squared times x would be x cubed, x squared times minus 2 would be minus 2x squared. Then we've got 2ax times x, that's going to be plus 2ax squared. Then we've got 2ax times minus 2, that's going to be minus 4ax. Then finally we've got a squared times x, that's going to be plus a squared x. And then we've got a squared times minus 2, that's going to be minus 2a squared. So that's what we get when we expand our brackets, and that's equivalent to x cubed plus bx squared minus 3x minus 18. Okay, so we've got this identity. Now let's have a look at our coefficients and equate our coefficients. Now I'm not going to bother with the x cubed because we've got x cubed on the left hand side and x cubed on the right hand side. So equating their coefficients would be 1's equal to 1, and that's not very useful to help us find in the values of a and b. So let's start off with our x squared terms. So our x squared terms, so on our left hand side we've got minus 2x squared, and then we've got plus 2ax squared, and there are terms involving x squared on the left hand side. So looking at the coefficients, we'd have minus 2 plus 2a, and on the right hand side we've then got our term involving x squared is bx squared, so that's going to be equal to b if we equate their coefficients. So now that's equating the coefficients of x squared. Now let's look at our coefficients of x and see what we get. So if we equate our coefficients of x, let's look at the left hand side. So we've got minus 4ax, so minus 4x, and then we've got plus a squared x. And then on the right hand side we've got minus 3x. So that would be minus 4a plus a squared is equal to minus 3. And actually if we have a look at this, this is a quadratic which we could solve, and let's see if we can find possible values for a. So if we have a look at this, we've got a squared. We've then got minus 4a, just swapping those around. And then if we add 3 to both sides, then we'd have plus 3 is equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic, we can factorize this. So factorizing this would give us a and a at the front of both brackets. We're looking for two numbers which we'll multiply together to give us 3 and add together to give us negative 4. So I'm thinking minus 1 and minus 3. And that means that a would be equal to 1 or a is equal to 3. And it looks like we may have two possible solutions for a here. And the question says work out the values of a and b. So let's actually have a look at our constants and see what we get when we look at our constants. So in terms of our constants, on the left hand side we've got minus 2a squared, so minus 2a squared. And on the right hand side we've got that's equal to minus 18. So that's equal to minus 18. So multiplying both sides here by negative 1 would give us 2a squared is equal to 18, just changing the signs. Dividing by 2 would give us a squared equals 9. And that means if we look at this, a number squared is equal to 9, so that means that a is equal to 3 or a is equal to negative 3. Now if we have a look at what we got whenever we equated our coefficients of x, we had that a is equal to 1 or 3. And here we've got a is equal to 3 or negative 3. Now that means that a would have to be equal to 3 because it can't be equal to 1 because it wouldn't work for the constants, and it can't be equal to negative 3 because that wouldn't work for the x's. So that means that a has to be equal to 3. Now if we go back up here to whenever we equated the coefficients of x squared, we had that minus 2 plus 2a is equal to b. Now a is equal to 3, so we've got minus 2, and then we've got 2 times a. A is equal to 3, 2 times 3 is 6, so we've got plus 6 is equal to b. And minus 2 plus 6 is 4, so we've got 4 is equal to b. So that means that b is equal to 4, and that's it. So we've got a is equal to 3, and b is equal to 4, and that's it. So that's our solutions. Okay, let's have a look at our last question. So question number 17 says Adil expands x plus 4, x plus c, and 2x minus 1. And we're told that the coefficient of x squared is equal to minus 9 or negative 9. Find the value of c. So let's expand our brackets and see what we get. And actually, remember, whenever we expand brackets, it doesn't actually matter what order we write them in, because we're multiplying three things together. And whenever you multiply three things together, you can change their order. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to write x plus 4, and then in brackets 2x minus 1, and then x plus c. And I'm just doing that so that I can expand these brackets to begin with, and I know that they're going to simplify, and then I can times it by this one. So x times 2x would be 2x squared. X times minus 1 would be minus x. 4 times 2x would be plus 8x, and finally 4 times minus 1 would be minus 4. And then that's still to be multiplied by x plus c. And then if we simplify this, we've got minus x plus 8x, that's 7x. So we've got 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. And then we're still going to multiply that by x plus c. Okay, so we've expanded our first two brackets. Now let's multiply it by x plus c and see what we get. So 2x squared times x would be 2x cubed. 2x squared times c would be plus 2cx squared. Then we're now going to multiply both of these by 7x. So 7x times x is plus 7x squared. And 7x times c would be plus 7cx. And then finally, minus 4 times x would be minus 4x. And minus 4 times c would be minus 4c. So we've expanded our brackets, and we're told that the coefficient of x squared is equal to minus 9. So the coefficient of x squared, so whenever this is expanded, the coefficient of x squared would be equal to negative 9. So let's have a look at the terms involving x squared. So we've got this term and this term. And if we knew the value for c, and we done 2 times whatever c is, and we had that many x squareds, and we added 7x squareds, we know that's going to give us negative 9x squareds. So let's equate our coefficients. That 2c plus 7 would be equal to negative 9. Now if we solve this, let's take away 7 from both sides. So take away 7 and take away 7. So we're going to get that 2c is equal to, and minus 9 take away 7 will be minus 16, and divide by 2 and divide by 2, we're going to get c is equal to minus 8. So the value of c is negative 8. That's it. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the Equating Coefficients practice questions. If you need any extra help on this topic, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents and scroll down to video 367, there's a dedicated video tutorial there on equating coefficients. Now in this video, we're going through the video solutions to the practice questions. I really hope you found it useful. And if you have found it useful, please like it and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.